Wowzer. This is I don't even know if I can say this has been a long time coming, but I mean I told you like months ago, like, hey man, I gotta get you on this podcast, get you on this podcast. I actually sent an invite, and I don't think I clicked sent. And then I was like, I'm gonna do it again. But it's cool. Actually, this is actually a little bit doper for me just because now I actually have more ammo to ask, in terms of like questions for you. I mean, for people that are living on the rock, dude, this is it's crazy. This is Gabby Martinez. I don't know if you just first of all, if you just haven't touched a weight in the last like 4 or 5 years, you don't know what powerlifting has been in the last 4 or 5 years, and then maybe you miss who she is. If you are alive and you do have a pulse, you'll know that she is one of the best lifters out there. Doesn't matter male, female. She's one of the most dangerous people to step on the platform. And if you actually get to know who she is, she's actually one of the sweetest people walking this planet. So you get a double barrel of an amazing person, an amazing coach, one of the best competitors that's walking the planet right now. And I am honored. I am geeks. I am super super stoked to have you on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome Gabby Martinez.
I am entirely too flattered by all of that.
Listen, listen. Now you got to live up to it. No,
I
I
guess that's
honestly,
fair.
I don't even know. I don't even really know where to start. I don't know if I hit everything, but for those people that are living on the rock who don't know who you are, give them a little intro of who you are.
All right. So if you go to my Instagram page, pretty much the first thing that pops up is 2 time 67.5 kilo national champion for the USAPL. I think I also have in there that I'm a grad student at UTSA. And I'm the head coach for Built Different Athletics, the big old banner right behind me.
Yeah,
That's
let's go.
pretty much a rundown. It's pretty much all you need to know. That's all I've been doing for the last 10 years.
And you've definitely made such a huge impact, on especially on the sport of powerlifting in Texas. Um, it's really cool, I mean, because I knew of you before I actually got to know you. That's pretty much how the powerlifting game goes. You really know of a person before you actually get to know them. And I don't know, I guess it's kind of a weird thing because you always kind of like feel them out before you get to know who they are. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
which is it's crazy because our paths cross quite a bit. Obviously, being in Texas, um, you know, uh, USAPL. I mean, I was part of USAPL for such a long time. It's like I would have to be a blind and deaf man not to know and hear who you are. Um, I mean, honestly, I mean, lifting aside, you're an amazing person, and I think that's one of the cool things that for me personally, I got to find out about you just through other people. It's like, dude, she's awesome, she's awesome, she's awesome. I think the first time I actually saw you was at one of the million um uh, meets at Texas Strength Systems, and I'm pretty sure you were handling and refing, and obviously just everywhere at one time, and that was kind of cool. I was just kind of saying like, yo, this. I just knew like, dude, this. I just kept saying like, this young girl, she's so serious. I kept saying like, dude, that girl's so serious. Why is she so serious? You know what I mean? But like, your people were just killing. I'm like, oh, well, oh, okay. It's like, I guess maybe I should be more serious. Maybe I should take my business a little bit more serious. Maybe I find more success, I guess. But it's been cool just kind of watching the evolution and just the growth, and really just how it's real dope seeing how like BDA is just this boom 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 boom, and your people are doing so freaking well. And between you and Mike, you guys lead from the front, which is such a there's a lot of really, you guys are great coaches. I will say that straight up. There's a lot of really good coaches that are really good at just being really good coaches. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Whereas, you guys, you lead from the front. Not only are you really good coaches, but you're really good competitors. And you guys do a really good job in terms of giving back to the sport, that you don't see from a lot of, especially young cats your age. Like, you just, I mean, and again, it's not a knock on anybody. It's just, I don't know. And again, this is a question I'm going to ask you. I don't know how you guys manage to juggle your time and prioritize your time, that you can not only have a successful coaching business, but also clearly going to school, being a grad student, you know, and hey, let me be a world-class athlete. Like, where do you find the time?
That is an excellent question. So I think the answer to that's probably just because I've been really, really bad about managing my time
Mhm.
since I first got to college. So when I graduated with my undergraduate degree, I had all of this free time. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, now I can do with it what I want to do.
Absolutely.
So naturally, I took on pretty much way more than I could chew.
Okay,
And
yeah.
now everything is pretty much just scheduled. But all of it's, I think, within the same sphere, which I'm really interested in now. So grad school is way more focused than undergrad was.
Absolutely.
And I struggled a lot in undergrad too.
Right.
So I think, taking all these classes that I'll be really honest, I didn't care about.
Mm,
I personally like I don't want to learn about how plants germinate. And I understand that's some people's jam, but for
right.
me, that was not what I wanted to spend my time and money on.
Right.
So in grad school, I'm doing my thesis project is involving powerlifters.
Uh-huh.
We haven't solidified any plans for that, but I did make a point that I want to include strength athletes in my thesis.
Hmm.
Coaching is involved with powerlifting as well. I have a
Absolutely.
home gym, so it's really easy for me to train and keep on top of stuff.
Right. Right.
So I think the management now for like how we are able to do all of this is straight up just prioritizing it,
Absolutely.
because we don't really do a whole lot outside of powerlifting anymore. And I know that for some people that seems like, oh, that's crazy, you guys only do this, but it's a lot easier to just do all of this in my opinion, for me personally.
No, I totally get that. I mean, I feel like, one to each their own, I mean, and if you're the
Yeah.
type of person that, this is a sport that I love, this is a community that I love to be involved with, and this is what I choose to aim my energies toward. I mean, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I think the problem starts coming when, people give so much of themselves to a specific topic, to a specific thing, a specific community, and it starts taking away from the rest of their lives. Um,
Yeah.
and or becoming, counterproductive in the rest of their lives. Whereas, with you guys, it seems that, you've been able to prioritize your time, aim your focus towards, this specific, community, but at the same time, you find fulfillment in being able to help other people, being able to, donate your time and efforts, to different people, self included, and and you've really been able to have such an impact where it's not like one's burnt out from it, whereas like you're still able to build from it, and I feel like because you've been able to prioritize your time in a way, in a manner that you're able to do, you know you can find that time, like, what, I've given as much time as I can to it right now, it's time to take a break. um
Yeah.
Again, I feel like, I mean, in the time that I've been able to talk to you guys, I've noticed that, you know that you give everything that you give, everything you have, I should say, you give to whatever it is that you're giving to. Like, if it's, I know at that time we were it was deadlifts. Deadlifts were, on the menu, and they weren't moving the way you wanted them to, and that was concerned.
Yeah.
And just in the short conversation that we had, then I was just like, yo, she's really gonna give everything she has to this. And like, fast forward 3 weeks later, deadlifts are through the roof. I'm like, what? So, like, I mean, it's been it's cool seeing, someone, like you guys, just that are able to really prioritize that time, really be able to focus in on whatever specifics that you need to, and get the, desired result. I don't know, I something that you said earlier, is that, you do so much. But here's a question that, I mean, that I've been asked a couple times just for myself personally, and I've never had a chance to actually ask somebody. I'm hyped to ask you this. Do you ever say no? Is there a point where you like, nah, I can't do it?
That's actually something that I'm working on a lot more lately. And I think I'm a lot better at it now than I used to be, especially when I was in my undergrad. Um, because I do realize what burns me out and what I'm okay with continuing on and building on that doesn't burn me out.
Right.
Because you did mention burnout earlier.
Yeah.
And I think I experience burnout a little bit differently than the majority of people. The
Uh-huh.
thing that burns me out is not necessarily doing the same thing over and over and over and having all of that just like compacted, which I know can be overwhelming for some other people.
Right.
Or they've been lifting for so long, progress is stagnant, they're just tired of it.
Right.
That doesn't really burn me out. If anything, that pisses me off more and it motivates me a little bit more.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What tends to burn me out more, I think, compared to everything else, is just like going out too much. So I think the fact that I'm in my own bubble where I have a home gym now, I'm in grad school, so it's the same like 20 kids that I have in every single class.
Right.
And powerlifting meets, the Texas community is huge, but it's still
Absolutely.
only the same few people working at every meets that I really have to talk to all the time.
Right.
I think that's actually prevented any burnout that I would have normally gotten from powerlifting, because I do get really burnt out after big meets. But like the training and the monotony of everything, I actually lean into pretty hard.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm such like a busy bee, such a like a social butterfly. Like I have to be like here, this, go, 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 go. And then I feel like that keeps me kind of like fresh with it. And it's like, it's I don't know. I mean, I think I tend to get overstimulated from seeing the same people over and over and over because like it it's weird because you would think it would be the opposite. Like, oh, I see the same people, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to, really be on my P's and Q's. But I feel like, because like you said, this Texas community is so big, but you do tend to see the same, 20, 30 people over and over and over, you know, because I see those same people over and over, it's such like a family, and you just, I get overexcited, overstimulated, I'm like, honestly like a Frenchie, just like running around. Like I just have so much fun being around those same people, seeing those same people, having those conversations, and really, at this point, you see those same people over and over and over, you tend to kind of keep an eye on them. You keep track of their progress, and you're like, hey man, I just saw you did this and this and this. And so, I feel like when I'm around you guys, for example, I feel like my cup is never, it's never like half empty. It's always like half full. I always feel like I always have like at least a partially full cup. So I'm like, because I feel like you guys are pouring into me, then I get to pour into someone else. And the next thing I know, I'm like, dude, I need to chill out. Like I just been running around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's one of those things like, if I weren't a part of this community, if I weren't a part of this Texas powerlifting life, what else would I do, dude? You know what I mean? Like it's such a big part of my life, and I used to be one of those types like, oh, I'm powerlifting is only such a small part of my life. It's not that big of a deal. And then I realized like, you know what? I'm paying my bills with it, and at the same, and at the same time, I'm like, I really enjoy, it's not, I think I got to a point where it wasn't even about the competition per se. It was about seeing, everyone do well and knowing like, hey, they're from where I'm from. They're doing well. Like, oh,
Yeah.
they're gonna go to this meet, dominate. You know what? I need to make sure I send them a message, let them know, hey, good luck, you got this. I'm on their IG. I'm gonna stalk everybody that I know's IG to make sure they know, like, hey, at the very least, you're gonna look at your stories like, oh, LS was watching. Like, I just want people to know that like there's some support. Because I've been that guy that didn't have the support. I've been that lifter that didn't have the support that not necessarily that I felt I needed per se, but I just was I just would always wanted like to know like, hey, people have my back. I'm like, and I always like figure like, I would love for everyone to know like, hey, at the very least, I know that I got one guy out there. I know that LS is going to be like, hey man, you got it. Regardless of we compete against each other with the same weight class or not. I just really want my Texas people to know that that somebody out there's got love for them. I think you guys do such a good job as far as just how you're able, like we said before, to juggle all of that and still, provide such a, I don't know, such a high quality service in terms of how you coach. Let's talk a little bit about like just your coaching, man. Like how, what was that defining moment? Like, what I want to coach.
So I think for about half of my undergraduate degree, I knew that when I graduated, that was something that I wanted to do.
Right.
But naturally, like everyone that's, well, I guess most people that are young and like have this idea of what they want to do when they grow up, they have imposter syndrome once they start to get really, really close to it. So once I got my degree, I said, okay, I've already got one more stamp than most people that are coaching in the sport right now.
Talk about
I was like, I very specifically in all of the classes that I took really only paid attention to the parts that were applicable to powerlifting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's on me for not paying attention to some of the other parts. So unless it was like biology focused or powerlifting focused, I was just not paying attention. Sorry to my world sit professor, but So once I graduated, I actually spent about $2,000 to get a NASM personal training certification, which I have let expire since. I had no interest in spending any more money to keep that going,
Right.
especially now since I'm pursuing a master's degree.
Absolutely.
But I just knew. So once I graduated, I got my NASM certification. I took my first few athletes after I filed my LLC. I think that July or August of 2021. And then it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
After I did my first nationals, I think I had started coaching myself first. So I think after my first raw nationals in 2021, after collegiate nationals, I said, okay, I'm gonna test some things out, make sure I actually have an idea of what I'm doing before I ask people to let me do this for them.
Absolutely.
Because I had a coach beforehand who I absolutely adored, but I figured, it's very similar to, I guess, the way that Steve DeNovi programs, where it's basically the same program that you run over and over and over just because it's working.
Right.
So, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Yeah.
So I had a couple of ideas in my head of what I wanted to kind of mess with. So I think for my entire off season up until around the end of the summer, I was like, okay, I've been playing around with some stuff. It's going really well. I was like, let me just do it. So I had my first, I want to say 4 clients. They didn't pay me. I had an LLC. By the end of the year, I had some legitimate clients, and I still have a few of the first clients that I ever had too.
Yeah.
But it took me a minute, and I was like, okay, everybody starts at this position. Like, I'm very clear that this is something that I'm still learning how to do. Like, I'm not telling anyone that I have all the answers, and I still don't promise that.
No.
And we stress communication. So
Absolutely.
when we sit them down and do that first onboarding session with them to kind of get to know them, I'm like, I can't do my job if you're not communicating with me the things that I need.
Absolutely.
And I send them, a PDF of what we expect and like what they expect from us. So I think as far as coaching, nobody has all of the answers right on the nail of the head like the first time around. It's more so, is your coach going to be able to work with you and problem solve when things stop being so easy, because that's eventually going to happen.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, and I think that's always. I mean, even with all the people that I coach, that's the hardest part. Is is when those gains stop for whatever reason. Like I always ask myself, like, all right, how do we adapt to this? Because it's like an ever growing puzzle. Like, and it's the human body is absolutely amazing. And some days it'll amaze you, and some days it'll just like, wait, what? Why are you doing this? And I think something that you said that it just, I mean, I echo it a lot is I know that I don't have all the answers. I know that, I've had a couple of coaches, over my many years of lifting, and, my best, I mean, my current coach now, like, he tells me straight to my face, like, dude, I don't have all the answers. I will tell you straight up, I don't have all the answers, but we will find the answers together, and if I don't have the answers, then, we're going to figure out a way to find the answers. And, that was something that I really absorbed. And I'm like, I'm going to regurgitate that as much as I can to my people. Like, what, y'all, I don't have the answers. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of the answers, but, I know that there's going to come a point in time where I will not have those answers, and I can't promise you that I'm going to have that answer, but I can promise you this. I will find somebody that knows the answer to your question and or that can help me find the answer. I mean, I can't always have the answer, but I know that I can control, giving 100% effort in finding that answer for you. And I feel like that really separates. That's a point of differentiation, from, for a lot of coaches, is the fact that some don't have the answers, but rather just communicating that I don't know, but I can find out for you. They'll make up something, and either that can lead to a person getting hurt, or they honestly it just leads to mistrust. And at the end of the day, it's like, I think people respect you more, especially, from athlete to coach. I think an athlete respects you more as a coach when you admit that you don't necessarily have the answer, but you are willing to put in the work to find that answer, with them. And again, a lot of that goes back to what you said in terms of communication. Again, yet another thing that I stress as well is you've got to be able to communicate. You got to let me know what's going on with you. You got to let me know how your days are going. You got to let me know what your intake is. You got to let me know what your rest is and or isn't. Otherwise, I can't properly, program any type of strength, schedule for you that's gonna, benefit, benefit you in the long run if you're not, you just got to be open with the person. The one thing that I've seen your interaction with, your athletes, man, and there's such a, what's the word I'm looking for? There's such a high degree of respect, almost like, and it's funny because, I mean, if you look on paper, black and white, it's like, wait a minute, it's not like you're that much older than them. It's not even like somebody knows you, but I mean, it is literally like, daughter talking to mom, son talking to mom, like, you know what, I'm sorry, let me, you know what I mean? And I think that was, again, watching you in action, that was one of the things that was so impressive, is just like how you, when you walk in a room, I can tell you straight up from personal experience, when you walk in a room, there's it's like this not a demand for respect, but there's definitely like, all right, Gabby's in here. Hey, let's, straight up fly right. Is that something that you've always kind of had? Is that something you've always, kind of been like, or is that just like that can be a recent thing, but I mean, is that just a part of the personality? Like, I mean, it's not like you're like this walking around with RBF, but you just have this high sense of like, hey, respect the game, let's get it going. Is that just something that you just always been like?
Absolutely not. I think I was a straight up doormat all through grade school up until college.
Really?
When I, yeah, when I was a freshman, sophomore, I think I overcompensated the other way because I was like, okay, I'm in a new city. Like, I'm not going anywhere for at least, another 4 years. And I was like, I don't want that to happen again.
Right.
So I think since I met Mikey, he's kind of toned that back a little bit. But I purposely do try to do the RBF because social interaction for me is a little bit, it makes me nervous a lot of the time, especially when I'm around a bunch of people that I don't know. And it's not that I know up front that I'm not that funny, even when I try to be funny, especially around my athletes. So I think sometimes when I'm trying to like make a joke where I'm like, oh yeah, that's like, obviously it didn't suck. Like,
yeah.
you're looking at it, you're looking at what I'm looking at. Of course it didn't suck. But I think sometimes they're a little bit afraid of what I'm gonna say. And that's kind of why they're all of my athletes are, well, I will say that we've kind of filtered out and found a good vetting process for all of the athletes that we have currently. So yeah, all of the ones that we have right now are fantastic. They're all super nice. Like, they can tell that I'm probably, like, if they joke with me, that's totally fine. I'm probably not going to joke back, just because I don't want anything taken out of context on my end, especially as their coach.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if, I'm in the gym with them joking around, but it's another thing when it's mostly virtual, which is what I do now since I train.
Yeah.
But no, I had to work really hard on like giving myself a backbone and like making sure people didn't mess with me, because it's not that I have a big problem with that. I just don't know how to tell them to knock it off once I'm done with the mood. So I'm kind of glad that it comes off where it's more so me having an air of like, maybe don't push that envelope a little bit, but nonetheless, I'm not actively walking into a room saying I hate it. I'm more so just terrified of everybody.
Oh my God. And it's funny because it definitely doesn't come off like you're terrified of it. Like, honestly, it's, between you and Mikey, I'm just like, dude, he's just like, I've yet to see this dude walk in without a smile on his face. You know what I mean? It is, that guy cracks me up. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't think I've ever like, and obviously I knew you before I knew him, but I don't think I've seen him up to this point after actually like getting to know him and like really like talk with him, that I see him walk in the room, I don't just kind of like smile like, that dude. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's awesome. I think you're awesome as well, but I just, for some reason, man, he just cracks me up. So
oh yeah, Mikey has his own draw. I don't know what it is either, but
dude, he puts out, honestly, man, Mikey puts out this energy. It's just like, you know what? What's up? Like, it's literally like his energy is like, what's up? You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. I enjoy him. I enjoy you both, but like, I really like when Mike is in the room, I'm like, oh dude, that dude's hilarious. I don't know why. It's not like he's just cracking jokes all the time, But I mean, yeah, you guys definitely make a dope little 1-2 punch. I do want to ask you, as far as your thesis, prior to getting into grad school and everything, like was that something that was in the back of your mind, like you had an idea of what you wanted to do your thesis over prior to going in, or when you finally got in, they're like explaining like, hey, do something in the corner. I mean, I know when I was doing my thesis, I was like, find something that you're really interested in, and really lean into that. But I had already known before, and I had a horrible boss, and I mean, like, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do mine over the effects of micromanagement, and how and so I knew, I was like, when I get to grad school, I know that's something I'm really going to do. Was it something that you already kind of had in the back of your mind that I want to do something that obviously involves strength athletes? And it's a two part. In terms of the athletes, is it just going to be, and maybe you already answered this beforehand, is it just going to be more leaning towards powerlifters, or are we talking just complete strength athletes in general? Like, say your strong men, women, and or we can even say your shot put, discus throws. I mean, because while they are track and field athletes, I always view them as strength athletes as well.
Yeah, no, I get you. I actually wasn't even planning on going to grad school, if I'm being really honest. I took about a year and a half off after I got my undergrad degree. And Mikey had already started his master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we can't have that. He can't outrank me on the education.
Oh my gosh.
So when he goes to PT school, I am most likely going to do either another master's degree or a PhD. I haven't decided. I'm a little bit terrified of a PhD, but he can't outrank me. So when I got in, I wasn't even sure that I was going to get in because my undergraduate degree, that was, my undergrad years were extremely difficult for a multitude of reasons. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed my major 7 times. So if you're in that boat, it's okay to take a semester off. And
absolutely.
Don't do what I did and just power through, because you're just going to add on another year.
Right.
So when I did actually get in, and I'm almost positive I got in solely based on the essay that I wrote and my letters of recommendation. Mm-hmm. So I'm extremely excited and proud that I've managed to keep the GPA that I have while I'm in grad school. It's not a 4.0. I did get a B, but it's pretty close.
Right.
So when we're talking about doing a thesis, I like that had not even crossed my mind.
Right.
I work in a neuroscience lab as a lab technician, so I do have authorship on one paper that they're doing because of the number of hours that I've put into helping labor.
Right.
Definitely not in like I contributed intellectually to the project. It's more so that I've been all of the manual labor for that one project.
But I am
and I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah, my name's on it. I'll take it. It's
absolutely,
fine.
Absolutely.
But I think through the job that I have working in that neuroscience lab, I've been surrounded by so many people that are just so intelligent, and their scientific process in biology and especially neuroscience is just so thorough. Mm-hmm. So when I was looking at some of my peers in the kinesiology master's program, I was like, these people don't have the same science bug. Like, these people are here, because they wanted a master's degree for something else. Right. They're getting a master's degree not necessarily to do a thesis to actually pursue science. Right. They're doing a master's degree and a thesis so that it looks good on an application somewhere else.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I actually had a professor who does research in, he does it on neurological developmental disorders. So he does a lot of research on Parkinson's and autism. And that was around the time where I was like learning more about autism. And I was like, this is really cool. I was like, I didn't even realize that there were this many different areas of just autism research.
Right.
That kind of connect to the neuroscience field. So originally that's what I wanted to do it on, but for the sake of time purposes for, a master's degree, and I'm already a full year in at the end of the semester, so I have 2 more semesters left.
Right.
We decided to do just a motor learning, a really basic skill. Yeah. And I tried really hard to find an actual research question that this setup could offer or like to answer, and I couldn't do it. So then I went home and I came up with a completely different study design, a completely different research question. Because at this point I was like, I have all of this knowledge on how to do research. I'm in a master's program. I feel like I would be doing myself and, the kinesiology field a disservice if I didn't contribute when people that don't have the same background and aren't as, they're not as obsessed with like the idea of advancing the field.
Absolutely.
That's like what I would want to do. So I went home and I made a completely different performance-based powerlifting like study design, and I brought it to my thesis advisor, and he was like, we don't do that kind of research. We're not a performance lab. You know, we're a motor learning, motor development kind of lab.
Right.
So we tweaked it. So I don't know if I would have actually completed the thesis. I probably would have dropped out and just gotten the master's degree and did the comprehensive exam had I not thrown in powerlifters, because it is just powerlifters specifically,
Okay.
and it is hopefully going to entail specifically elite level powerlifters. So it'll be a little bit of a smaller study, but powerlifters in general, when you're looking at the research, a lot of them are just kind of grouped into strength athletes. So it's not specifically looking at people that train this very, because I think we're a very specific, really niche type of training style. You know, bodybuilding is similar, but they, you know, they do a little bit different style training, which I think has a different kind of adaptation.
Absolutely. There's a bit of
So,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I have no idea if I'm going to get anything from it. So it just keeps compacting more and more questions because we're not sure if we're going to see anything. And if we do, I'm just going to be totally stoked. So,
I feel like
but yeah, I think I came in with like way too much of a biology background, and he was like, you're getting into details before we've gotten the basics down. And I was like, okay. I just know the population that I want, and I know the study, like the basic study design that I want.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, especially in the area of developing a thesis, and then finding out what you really want to have your speciality in. The hard part is really figuring out what you want to do it in, what your subject's going to be, and how in depth you want to be with it. So the fact that you even have those down in at this point, I mean, that's huge. Considering you could have been milling this around for another 5 or 6 months, being into semester 3, I'm like, oh crap, am I going to have enough time to, you know what I mean? Which is smart, because again, now, you've given yourself enough time, enough space, and enough, I guess room for development that, you can kind of keep doing this, because a lot of times, like, it's not necessarily, I feel like the questions come, the specifics start to come. It's just a matter of, do you have enough time to get to that point?
Exactly.
And I feel like, and at this point, time is definitely on your side. And the fact you have like good mentors that can kind of like, wait a minute, let's go ahead and tweak this thing. Yeah, no, that's dope. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I didn't even know that. I'm like, whoa, this is great. This is great. So yet more stuff to talk to you about. Let me see. I got so many freaking questions, man. I'm trying to like not like this could be like a 5-hour one, because I literally will talk and talk and talk. Let's talk about oh my god, let's talk about the meat. I want to talk about the meat. I want to talk about how we should be pulling at least low mid fives at this point. And let's talk about how I'm mad at you and Mikey for that last deadlift. I will not forgive you for that. You know that, right? I'm never gonna forgive you guys for that one. No, I so obviously, like, you did your first Powerlifting America meet, right? And
I did, yes.
And in typical Gabby fashion, you don't just do just a regular local. You do the super local, IPF Worlds level local meet. I was like, wait, what?
Yes, I did.
I mean, I'm so hyped. I know initially that we had talked about doing a podcast prior to doing the meet, but I feel like this is even doper now that you've done your Powerlifting America meet, and you literally, it's awesome. Local meets are dope. Anybody that has an opportunity to do a local meet, definitely do it. But when you're able to do a local meet, on a 1% of the 1% level, that's something different. That's
crazy.
That's probably as rare as it's ever going to. That's the rarest local meet that's ever existed, especially here in Texas. And you went out, you showed up, and you did your thing. Let's talk about it. Like, how did it feel? Like what did it feel like?
I felt so severely and stupidly like underprepared for this meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was aware that for PA Nationals, you don't have to hit a specific qualifying total or be in a specific weight class. You basically just have to do a meet and you can qualify. So in my head, the day before, I was like, oh, we'll just kind of water load because I've been like drifting between 69 and 70.
Right.
And I water loaded the day before, and I don't know where my brain went, but I got to the point in the evening where I was doing some homework and programming a little bit, and I got hungry. And I was like, oh, well, I have some snacks for the meet. And I normally don't do that when I water load. I normally have like rice and it's like minimal salt.
Yeah.
But I'm a genius, and I was like, oh, let me just eat some of these pretzels. So yeah, so I chugged a lot of water, and then I ate quite a bit of sodium. So I weighed in a little bit heavier than I meant to. I actually got there. I weighed in the first time, and I was like, oh, absolutely not. So I went and spit a little bit more
Yeah.
because I was like, this just like is straight up not okay. Like I weighed like 2 pounds less than this yesterday. I actually don't even know how much I spit. I don't remember what I weighed in the first time, but I just know I weighed in the first time, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, absolutely not. I
I
was
don't
like,
like
let me
this.
put my clothes back on. I was like, give me my card back. You're not putting that down. So I weighed in at 69.75. So that's how it started.
Right.
And Megan Scanlon weighed in right at 63. Nobody else had an issue with the weight. And yeah, I was underprepared. I saw Meg in the hallway, and I was like, I should have prepared more for this. I was like, I was just planning to like barely make weight at 69 because I had been cruising right around there.
Yeah.
So that's my bad. That I'm already under the cap at this point now. So I'm just gonna cruise right
Easy.
at weight.
Right. Right. Right.
And then I didn't even have openers planned. So I was just gonna kind of walk in and just, I mean, this is a local meet for me. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I knew Jessica was gonna go off. I wasn't sure what Bonica or Meg were gonna do. I wasn't sure because I know Meg didn't prep for that meet. So I had
Yeah.
no idea if she was gonna go all out or just try to collect a check and then go home. But
Yeah.
absolutely, of course, all of the women went completely off. So I was like, all right, Mikey, I'm gonna let you call numbers. I was like, I put in some easy openers. I was like, if we gotta bump them, we'll bump them.
Yeah.
But the only one that we actually bumped up, I think, was deadlift. We bumped it up about 10 keys, I want to say.
Why don't we bump it up like 20 keys?
I wasn't, I was so shocked.
It's weird because like those deadlifts, they were just flying. And say like the first one was good. The second was better than the first. I was like, well, maybe we'll see how the third. And the third, I was like, wait, what? What is he? What are we doing here? And like, I don't even know. I don't. I posted something. I don't even know what I said. I don't know. I know I was talking trash. That's just my mo. But I was just. I mean, and it's weird because the first thing I thought after you pulled it, I was like, you know what? I can legit remember a couple months ago, 3 months ago, to be exact. Like you're like, deadlifts. I don't know. I'm like, who are you? So that was awesome. Like honestly, I'm not gonna lie, dude. That put a huge smile on my face because I know, that it was concerned for a little bit, and you really worked yourself out of a hole. You worked yourself out of a rut. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to see. I've played every sport in the world, man. But one of the cool things that I've always known, that I've always been told from my coaches, is that if you're a good shooter, and you hit a slump, then you shoot yourself out of it. If you're a good baseball player and you have a slump with your swinging, you have to swing yourself out of it. And same thing with lifters. If you're a good lifter and you hit a little snag here, you get a little slump, you have to lift yourself out of it. And you literally lifted yourself out of it. You came up with a game plan and you lift yourself out of it, man. So it was really cool. It is really cool to see where you're sitting now, where it's like, oh well, you would anyone that watches would have never known, like, oh yeah, she had a little snag with deadlifts for a little bit, And the cool thing about being, a world class athlete like yourself is that, people don't understand is, you guys have those moments too. Like it's not always like
Absolutely.
I'm not always, I'm not always moving one of 1% out there. Like some days I'm like, you know what, I can barely get a plate off the ground. Some days I'm like, do I even have a grip? Like some days I'm like, do I even want to walk in the gym? And I think that's an important thing for people to understand, especially lifters that are getting into the game, because I think right now we're in a day and age of instant gratification is what it's about. And I'm going to, I follow, I follow this girl, I follow that girl, I follow this guy, I buy the same thing that they wear. So I should be able to do what they do. I know that, Gabby's one of my favorite lifters. So, you know, I think I can do what she does, not realize like what you do is so rare. What you do is, it is such a small percentage of people that are able to do what you do. And I think that's, I think one of the again, this is something I'm gonna talk trash, but it's kind of a compliment. Like you have like the greatest poker face of all faces. Like I mean, sometimes it looks heavy, but it really never really looks heavy. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know how you do that because I have tried. When I first got into powerlifting, I was really good with my poker face until it started really getting heavy. And then the next thing I know, I just started gritting my teeth and grunting really loud. Um, is that just your thing? Like, are you or is that something that you work on? I know you say you work on, walking in and having RBF. Like, do you work on making sure that like that face that you don't give away any type of strain, like competitively?
Absolutely not. Yeah. No, yeah, that was actually something that my teammates made fun of me for when I was a freshman on the team. They were like, "You don't make any face when you lift." And I was in equipment. So like my face might be turning bright red, but my facial expression just never changed. And I don't think I ever even noticed that like that's what I was doing.
Mm,
So I think now that I'm aware of it and I've been training long enough and I think habits form, like when the ruts happen, like I'm frowning because I'm so angry at the way things are moving when they shouldn't be moving that way.
absolutely.
That over time, I have a face that I do now. Because I don't even think I used to do, what is it? I think I like tuck my upper lip now when I deadlift, which I didn't do before. But I mean, it's not really something that
Yeah.
and I think sometimes that's a good thing. If I can make things look a little bit heavier than they actually feel, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna let my competition think that they might be a little bit close.
Well, then welcome to my world because everything I lift feels it literally looks like it's about to break me in half. So yeah. No,
Sometimes I think it's the opposite for me.
leave, bro. Like it makes me so mad. I'm like, I just don't get it. It feels so good, but it my body's shaking like a leaf in the wind. Like, I just don't get it. I don't know. Here's the question I do have for you. So you mentioned equipment. Is there ever going to be a point where you go back to equipment? You think?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it's I appreciate the sport for what it is, but I don't think that the type of person that I am and like the I don't know, the community that's required for equipment, I think makes me nervous. So I
Yeah.
think I used to get more anxious and have more issues with like consistent training when I
Mm,
had to have people around.
right.
Because I think that's what I love the most about raw lifting is I don't have to wait on someone else to be ready if I'm
Mm,
ready to go. I
absolutely.
need Mikey to come spot me, but most of the time, and I think I got used to that during COVID too, where you know what I mean? If I load it, I'm gonna have to do it or I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I've dropped benches on myself. So,
Sorry,
if
goes
you're
that.
actually worried about it, put the safeties up. But sometimes if it's you got to hit it or you're kind of stuck in a hole and you're going to put a hole in a wall, then you're going to press it up one way or
Yeah.
another. So
Here's a
I think
question.
I think that benefits.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that COVID, man. Me and my buddies, we were talking about COVID training, um, and some people just didn't have an opportunity to train at all during
Yeah,
COVID. Um, you were able to train during COVID, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, the
Um,
UTSA powerlifting team. I guess it was actually Wes Dunker. He made sure that certain areas of San Antonio had equipment available if we wanted to use them,
yeah,
as long as we were complying with the I don't know if there were laws at the time where you could only have like 5 people in a dwelling at a
yeah,
single time.
yeah,
Yeah, so as long as we were doing that, we were okay.
yeah. I did the same thing. I bought as much equipment as I could, and I turned my garage into a gym. And I had all my lifters that I coached at the time. I mean, like, hey, listen, this how many people
Bring
can
some
come.
hand sanitizer and you can train.
I was like, yeah, that was your entry, like hand sanitizer, Lysol, all that stuff, and like you had to clean. I mean, and it was so. I was such a weirdo. Like I even had I had like a webcam up in the corner. I'm like, all right, I'll go down there when there's like
No,
four
that's
people, three
smart.
people. And I mean, but at the time, it was just like what I wanted to make sure the family, my family was safe and that I was safe, but that my people had a place that they could train. And
Yeah.
not all coaches were able to do that, so it was definitely a blessing to be able to do that. But um, you know, me and my buddies, like I said, we were talking about that COVID training and how freaking strong we got over that. I don't, I don't know if it was the same way for you, but
Oh yeah.
man,
Yeah.
that COVID strength was different, man. I don't think people understood like because that's all we could do. That was the only social interaction you really had like throughout the day was like, all right, I'm gonna go train. And it was just like, you know what? I'm gonna talk a little bit, I'm gonna train a lot, you know, and I think a lot of just like the social anxieties that people had and you know the fear that a lot of us had. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just kind of took it out on the weights. Like they just trained and trained and trained and trained. And I mean, that was
Yeah.
really the only, at least for me. And again, I don't know if I was speaking for you, but at least for me, that was the only thing on my schedule, you know, that I had. Like, all right, well, I know that today I get to train, and I do get to see some people that I, you know, that I know that you know that you know that they've taken the vaccine or whatever, and they're coming in here and they're wiping down everything. Like at least that was the only time I got to talk to people. So I mean,
Yeah.
where like you guys were able to train and all. I mean, like how was your strength levels during that during the COVID years?
So initially, naturally I panicked. We didn't know what we were gonna do.
Right.
We were still trying to have Wes let us sneak in like two or three of us at a time into the gym. And then they shut that down pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
So the president of the team at the time, he had a rack in his student living apartment on the first floor. He had a combo rack, some kilos, and then I think he had a couple of bands. So we had some plywood and rubber on the floor with some carpet over it, and then we would just lift in there. And I think during that time, I was able, and it was normal because I got a job at Walmart. I was a server before that, so I got a job at Walmart. And at Walmart, you get 3 breaks a day. So I was eating on every single break. That's when I downloaded the RP Diet app. I now use MacroFactor. Sponsored by none of them. I just really like MacroFactor now.
Hey,
But I
I'm
think that
sponsored by
was when
Microfactor. Hey, shout out Microfactor, baby.
I do like MacroFactor. I'm using it right now. But that was the first time nutrition had been dialed in. I was taking creatine regularly for the first time. I was taking all of my multivitamins, fish oil, all of that stuff. But I think it was so open for me to structure how I wanted to because, I'm a routine kind of person. I like to have my routine. So
Yeah.
it was training, it took off. So I think that was the first time I was regularly benching 200 raw. That was the first time that I pulled 215 and I did it beltless. And then I don't really know where squat ended up after that. But I do remember that things were feeling really easy and I was beltless at the time. So yeah, and then after that, that's when I hurt my back and I kind of had to start over. But yeah, it was the gains at the time were worth it. And I figured out how to do nutrition during COVID. So
man, that makes one of us because I definitely ballooned up during COVID. I got as big as
I did initially. Yeah, for sure.
Man, dude, COVID LS, I was a freaking just a fat melted candy bar, dude. And I was like, it is what it is. I'll try not to take up too much more of your time.
You're fine.
But I do want to touch on a couple things, man, and then we'll get into the weirdo questions, man, that I always ask. It's crazy, man, because I don't know. I just see the growth and I see how like well you're doing, man. Like what was it again, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, I'm not trying to, talk trash or anything like that, but I mean, I don't even think I asked you at the time, when you were talking about like coming over and everything. What made you want to come over to Powerlifting America? And again, it's not necessarily like, oh, one's better, one's worse. Like I just, that this is my question. This is a fanboy question. Like what made you want to come over?
So I think when the split happened, I knew eventually I would have to switch over regardless because the world platform, that's what I wanted. Like that's when I got to college and I realized like, oh, there is I did not know before I got to college that there was a world. Like I did not know what the IPF was. Once I figured out about it, and I remember talking about it at the gym where I was like, I want to be a world champion. Like I think I can take these records. And those were junior equipped records at the time. And I remember some of the people at the gym were like, you're crazy. They're like, start small, like pick some small goals first and then get up there. And then by the time I graduated, college, I was doubling the junior squat world record. I mean, then COVID happened and I couldn't go anyway. I aged out, but I was like, these are goals that I have. And I realized that for me, setting these insane goals means something a little bit different than the people that are looking for instant gratification, because I enjoy that long process. And if Worlds is gone, regardless of if there's another type of like international competition, like it's never going to be the same as that one platform. Absolutely. There's never going to be the same history behind it or the same number of high level competitors and the people that I've been looking at internationally that I want to compete with. Absolutely. Because I know that they're better than me. And I'm never going to improve to the level that I want to if I'm not surrounded by people who are, frankly, a lot better than me. And which I think we noticed at that local meet that I just did. All of those lifters are a million times stronger than me. But I think because I was there lifting with them, they pulled something out of me that otherwise wouldn't have come out. Right. So I think that was probably the number one reason why I had to switch.
Absolutely.
And the second was, I think, the introduction and the push by the USAPL to have like an international, like when I attempted 198 at Raw Nationals in September, they called it out as a world record. And I don't really know why that was when I knew.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the time, I have to do it now. Like, I don't want a world record if it's not the world record that I want.
Absolutely.
Like, this isn't like, I know what the world record is for my weight class. And even if they're not exactly the same, like I know what it is, this is far below that. Yeah. It doesn't deserve the title of world record. And it feels like it just doesn't feel right to me.
Right. No, I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah. And I was also kind of like, I've not been selfish in the sport probably ever. I pretty much did whatever my coach at the time or whoever was in charge of me, you're going to be in equipment, you're going to be in this weight class. When I went to Raw Nationals, that was after I fulfilled my duties to my team in college. Yeah. I graduated, I went to Raw Nationals. I was like, I like this so much better. But even then, I was basically testing stuff on me so that I could use them on my athletes later. I was testing out theories and stuff.
Yeah, make yourself the guinea pig.
So I think this is the first like decision that I'm making for me that may not directly benefit others. This is something that I'm having to sacrifice and work with on Mikey to make sure that my USAPL athletes are taken care of while I pursue this. But I have to do it because if I don't do it now, I may not get the chance again. And I don't think I will be able to forgive myself for that.
No, I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, and I can counter with a couple of things. Number one, watching you at that local meet, it did everything but that I think it showed that you are a world level competitor. I mean, because honestly, let's be honest, like you competed against the best. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you had at the very least, you had one of the greatest deadlifters that's ever touched the bar. You have Megan Scanlon, who literally is been a world champion over and over and over. That takes she takes powerlifting to a new height every time she touches a bar. You have Bonica, who's arguably the GOAT that has more world championships than I have hairs on my head. I mean, and you were there standing with them toe to toe. And I think you showed that you belong just as much as anyone else, number one, and that that when you are presented top level competition, you don't cower to it, but rather you rise to the occasion. So that right there shows that's an ingredient of a world champion to me. And I mean, again, take it from somebody that's won it a few times. Like I think you've got the stuff, you've got the metal to make it happen. And second counter, of course, is I do feel like it's going to benefit people. It's going to benefit a lot of those people that, I mean, that like have a dream, that want to chase that dream, but for whatever reason, they decide to like, I don't think I'm going to do it for whatever reason. For those people that think like, oh, this might be a selfish move, but at the end of the day, let's be honest. If you do what you came to do, it's going to benefit the good old USFA. We're gonna get some points out of you, and we're gonna get it closer to having a team world championship, and that is just as big as anything else. I mean, they don't call track and field athletes selfish when they go to the Olympics, and they raise that stars and stripes over their head and they do the national anthem. I don't feel like this is a selfish move. I felt like this is a move that has to be made in order to get to the top of the top. I mean, and let's be honest, like
Yeah.
in your field, USAPL, you're the best of the best. You know what I mean? And so now, okay, cool. Now I need to take my show on the road and go against some more of the best. That's the only way to find out where you fit in the scale of things. And I, again, I mean, I don't want to be mean to you, but I feel like you're one of the best out there. I really do feel that way, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. I feel like you will be a world champion one day. I really do
Hope
feel that
so.
way. I feel like. I mean, you've got everything. I mean, you've got all the tools, and I think more than anything, I feel like the one thing that you possess that a lot of people don't is you have that mental wherewithal to like, all right, I know that this is not going to be an overnight thing. I know that this is going to have to be my lifestyle for X amount of years in order for me to get to the mountaintop. And I'm willing to sacrifice that time, energy, and effort in order to get there. Knowing that out of the gate, realizing it's not going to come easy and it's not going to come overnight, that right there puts you, leaps and bounds ahead of the next person that is, super uber impatient with gains, super uber impatient with the process. And I feel like you do a really good job, at least in the time that I've known you, of really leaning into the process, enjoying the process, and and really counting every moment as you progress. So I personally feel like I could be like one of those "I told you so" people, but man, I told you was gonna do. You know what I mean? Like and even when we talk about like you making that move over, I don't know. I try not to be too high. I think I was a little hype about it. But
Yeah.
I try not to be too hype about stuff. But I mean, it's just like you see people that you see are so talented. I'm like, man, if this girl only knew how good she really freaking is. And then when you find out, wait, she actually knows how good she is. That's even better. Um, I'm I'm ecstatic, you know, knowing how much impact you're gonna have. Number one, um, how many people, self included, look up to you and your work ethic and what you bring to the table and how much you give to the sport. Um, I'm excited to see people like yourself get their just due. Um, I personally don't feel like you've gotten your just due as as a lifter. Um, I feel like there's a lot of talented lifters out there have tons of followers and all that stuff um, that don't do half the stuff that you do. And even even more, they don't give back half as much as you do. Um, I think people like yourself, people like Mikey, I just don't understand how like people just don't like give you guys give you your flowers. You know what I mean? So it's always cool to see someone like yourself like what? No, you don't have to give me my flowers. That's fine. I'll take them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's dope to see. Because again, for me, like I'm always looking for little reasons here and there to be inspired, man. And for me, like a lot of the guys that I looked up to when I first started, they don't even lift anymore. Like they're just
Yeah.
chilling. So I'm like, all right, well, where do I find this inspiration from? Like, is there a generation of people I look up to? Well, the new generation, I'm not necessarily a big fan of. I mean, this is what it is. So it's like you guys are that generation right before the new generation that comes in. I'm like, yo, these kids are fire. I like watching them. So, you know, it's cool because like now if I see you guys, I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? Like but I mean, it's not necessarily me like just riding. I'm just I'm a fan. And it's cool to be a fan of people. I don't care if you're younger than me or not. Like a fan of people and their potential. You know, I mean, I know what you've done so far, but I'm also a fan of what you're going to do. I think that's the dope part, And if anybody has any, brains in their head, they better jump on this bandwagon now, before you win everything up. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a big Gabby fan. Like, oh really, dude? You really are for real? Where we at the beginning? So and again, that's part of the reason I wanted you on this podcast. I mean, I want to be able to go back, you know, 3 4 years, from now, but yeah, man, I had on the podcast before she won like 4 worlds in a row, bro. It's no big, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see what you do, and I think a lot of times it's hard to give people their flowers, in a grand scale, in a big enough scale that people understand, like, oh, like this person really is important to them. You guys are important to me. You and Mike are very important to me. What you guys do is very important to me. I'll tell a little story about you guys. I didn't have enough spotters at a meet, and you two literally had 2 people spotting a full meet. And mind you, I've always been impressed with you guys beforehand, but that one when you guys left, like like when you guys left, and I'm cleaning up and everything, dude. I had to go to the bathroom and take a little crying moment because because people. First of all, I'm emo about everything, so but that that meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? Not the spot and stuff, but just the fact that prior to the meet, you'd already reached out. Hey, if you need any help, I'll help. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this chick really she's just a sweet person, and you know, and then when you got there, like you were more than willing to help with everything, man, and you just, you guys just, I don't know, it really meant a lot, like having you guys there and just just having you guys just bless the platform with your presence and everything, and for and that it was cool, like because there was a few like little young girls there. They're like, yeah, I really want to do well. I was like, well, I mean, that you follow this girl right here. She's done it all. She's done a quit. She's doing raw. She's really, really good. Like, really? Like, here's her IG. You can check her out. So it's really, it was cool to be able to brag about a person, but to brag about a person while they're there, that was a cool thing. But the fact that you guys, you do so much for the sport and you're willing to give without really, asking for anything in return, I feel like you definitely need your flowers. So, I wanted to, tell a little story about like you guys, and I really wanted to give you guys your flowers because I mean you mean a lot to me. You mean a lot to the sport. You mean a lot to Texas in and of itself. I mean we've had a lot of giants that put us on the map, but then we have people like yourselves that are keeping us on the map. And I'm I'm more than excited to see what y'all do. You specifically, and it's the fact you're having a I mean, I'm having to do it too, having to do the little juggle to make sure that
Yeah.
you're not in violation of that article, article. And but I mean, and again, it's a cool thing for those that know what we're talking about. We're talking about the old Article 14. And actually here's a cool thing. We're actually going to we're actually working on something. I'm on the Powerlifting America board. I'm also a co-chair of the athlete committee. We're actually going to be working on something, man, as far as like addressing the old article, so that people get the full, the full 411 on it. Because I mean, there's a lot of information on it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation on it that a lot of people don't understand. So,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you had mentioned that because I mean, that kind of gave me a chance to do a segue into that. I'll shut my mouth. I will definitely shut my mouth. Um, before we get into the weirdo stuff, I am going to ask you a question, and I'm gonna let you just, I'm gonna let you run with it, man.
Okay.
For somebody, you know what I mean, that lacks that motivation, that lacks that ability to prioritize time, that's wanting to do more than what they're doing, that's wanting to push themselves to do more than what they're doing, but they just don't know how. What would be some words of encouragement you would have for them? On the spot.
That's it. That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever had the same issue. I think from the second that I found the sport, I was like, this is the one thing that I not only feel comfortable being around, but it's the one thing that I actually enjoy working towards, regardless of if I ever, I always knew that I would try to climb the ladder as much as I will. And if I ever win worlds, I will 100% declare my flowers. No one has to hand them to me. I will be declaring them. That will probably be a decade and something in the making. I'm already at a decade in the spring, so it'll be more than a decade by the time I get there. But I think you have to figure out what you actually want.
Absolutely.
And I know I heard Meg Scanlon talking about this on, I think, a podcast, or she was talking about it when she had this conversation with her coach. She was doing weightlifting and powerlifting at once, and her coach told her straight up, like, do you want to be great at one thing? Which one is it? And she picked powerlifting, and look where she's at right now. So I think if you're not really sure and you're kind of like half-assing it because you're afraid to fail at it, like you're afraid to dive into it, you have to take that risk. And I recently took that risk by switching to Powerlifting America, and I realized the consequences that comes with all of that. And I'm okay with it because I'm going to take that decision and I'm going to run forward with it, regardless of if I ever reach those goals or not. You are never going to get anywhere forward if you don't set, if you don't set that goalpost far enough.
Right.
Because I think that's a saying, and I'm not sure exactly where I got it from, but if you set your sights on a goal that is so far beyond what everybody else thinks is possible, even if you fall short, you are going to be so much farther than everyone else that never even tried.
Absolutely.
So, and powerlifting does not have to be something that you want to put that much time and energy into. That's totally okay. I think strength training, even as just a hobby, is so important for everyone's overall health.
Yep.
Particularly women.
Absolutely.
So I say, don't be afraid of it, just do it. And if it turns out it's something that you do really enjoy, keep prioritizing it. And don't let anybody make you feel bad for prioritizing it.
I like that. Don't be afraid of it, just do it. That's what we're gonna name this podcast. We're going to title this "Don't Be Afraid of It." I like that, though. Yo. All right.
Pretend I didn't steal that from Nike.
What? You know what? It's okay. You put the "don't be afraid of it" in front of it, so you're still winning.
That's fair.
Okay, so before I let you go, now we'll go into the questions. All right. We'll do the deserted island. You get stranded on a deserted island. You are allowed to have 3 things. What are your 3 things and why?
So my first one's probably a cat, because cats are good hunters and I am not. And if your cat loves you enough, they're gonna go hunt something small for you and bring it back and you can eat it. Let me see.
I've never heard cat ever. Ever.
Well, I have a cat and I was just thinking about that earlier. So that's actually, they hunt, they'll bring it to you, and we think it's annoying as cat owners because we have to clean up a dead rabbit or whatever, but if you're on a deserted island, that's probably really awesome.
This is true.
Let's see, the second one. Something that will let me drink water. What is it? Those straws that they make now, you can put it in salt water and you'll get fresh water.
All the filter straws.
Yeah. And then let me think. So a cat, a straw, and then I don't even know what the third one would be. Probably like those rocks that you can use to make fire with.
Oh, flint.
I don't know how to make a fire. Yeah, I don't know how to make a fire from scratch. We're talking realistically.
Those are actually really good. A cat, filter straw, and flint rock.
I'm not eating the cat, so I don't want to leave any sound bites in there for anybody saying I'm gonna eat the cat.
No,
the cat's gonna bring me mice.
You get a ASPCA. All right, so here's the next question. The next question is your Rushmore. Who are on your life's Rushmore? It doesn't have to be lifting. It can be anything. Who will be the 4 people that impact you or have impacted you the most up to this point in life?
Okay. So I was talking about him a little bit with my family over the break. He's my 3rd grade teacher. I cannot for the life of me remember his first name, but his last name was Muko, and I don't know how to spell it. But when I was in 3rd grade, I think that was around the time where I started having a lot of social issues where I would get really overstimulated and I just did not know how to deal. And so I would just go into like a mini internal self meltdown every day, and I just could not function. And I would just stare or play with something in my desk. And I think he was very aware of kids who had very similar issues on a military installation, because there are not very many resources when you're on an isolated military installation. And his classroom was always a really safe space for me and all the other kids that had a hard time, and he made learning fun. So I think for him, I would have had a lot more issues in grade school. And he introduced me to, the joy of reading. If you're overstimulated, go read a book. Right. And now I have a crap ton of books upstairs, so that stuck with me. Second person would probably be Dwayne Young. He was both my assistant principal in high school and also my first powerlifting coach. Yeah, I don't know where I would be in life if he hadn't been around when I was in high school. I probably would not be where I'm at in grad school and still lifting and, you know, out of trouble. I would probably be in a very different spot in life without him. Third person.
We have Muko and
Dwayne Muko. I think probably my grandma would be my third. My grandma is probably like the least threatening looking person in the world, but God forbid you do anything that she doesn't like in front of her. Oh, so I am trying to take some books out of there and try to have a little bit of that fire in me all the time, just like her. And then the fourth person. I think the fourth person would probably be like my icon for the sport of powerlifting. And for like right now, the person that I think comes to mind is probably Megan Scanlon, just because, you know, she had twins, came back to the sport, fought her way back to the world stage, and then became a world champion after the fact. And now she's just like on an up streak. Like she's doing all the weight classes, trying to take all of the records. She's on like an infinity stone hunt right now. So awesome. I think that's my Mount Rushmore.
That's fire, man. Muko, Young, Grandma, Meg Scanlon. I mean, that's out of the park. And your wives, like, I mean, that's fire, dude. Woo! These are good. These are good. These are really good. All right. We get down to this. A final question. You already know what it is. We talked about it beforehand. So, gun to your head. 15 seconds. Any song. Doesn't matter what it is. Do you have a song that you can perform for 15 seconds? And not
I don't know about perform. I think I'll die no matter what. Oh! But I can recite what the lyrics are. And I have been singing this song on repeat in my car for like the last month.
Yes. What is song?
So have you ever seen the movie Mulan?
Girl, come on.
Well, you have a daughter, so I'm sure you have.
This Disney family here.
Yes. So I think this is everybody's favorite song from Mulan. I'll make a man out of you. Yeah. That's been like my training montage song that I've just had stuck in my head for the last month.
Oh, I play it every I think I play it every time. It's like it's been my top set song for 5-6 years at this point. Like I'm like
that makes me feel a lot less weird. I was like, I don't think anybody else is listening to Disney music when they're pissed off in the gym.
Let me tell you what, before I let you perform your song, this is what usually when I'm in the gym, I'm listening to comedy, I'm watching South Park, or I probably have some type of Disney going on. Like it's I don't know, man. I wish I could be serious. I'm everything's light with me, I guess. I don't know. But not as light as this song's about to be. I'm so excited. Okay. You got it. Stage is yours.
All right. I think I only know the chorus to the song.
That's all you need.
Thinking about it.
That's all you need. You should need 15 seconds.
15
seconds for the people.
I will not try to sing. I don't think I've sang in public in my entire life, but I will recite the lyrics as best that I can for you.
Recite those lyrics. Recite the lyrics, and you got it.
All right. What is it? Let's get down to business. Before the Huns arrive, did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? You're the saddest bunch I ever met. Before we're through, I'll make a man out of you. And then I know the next part is a little bit different. So I think I know that chorus, and then I know the last part.
Hey, listen, I'll take it.
Okay.
I will take it. I will take it. Listen, I uncocked the gun. It is back in the holster. You made it out of the alley alive. I'm no joke. I am so glad that this is episode 1 of this new season because, like, yeah, we definitely started off with a bang. I mean, I just feel like, with new beginnings, you started your new journey into Powerlifting America on your way to the world stage to get that gold crown. And, we're just starting our new journey in this new season. So yeah, man, I'm honored. I'm happy. I'm really, 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 really excited that we were able to have this convo. Um, Thank you for sharing everything, like your expertise, your the thesis, which is I'm excited. We're gonna have to do a part two at some point to figure out like once everything's done, like how that all went. Um, and honestly, man, just your passion for the sport and your willingness to give the sport. Um, Shout out Mikey, the other half, because that dude, he's a real one, man. And obviously he's probably gonna hear it at some point, but I think the world of that dude. I mean, just as much as I think the world of you. Like, I mean, I'm really appreciative of how much you guys give to the sport. Um, and and you guys really don't ask for anything in return, which is so rare. So I want to make sure that I give you your flowers. That I mean, if you don't get flowers from anyone, that that, oh yeah, LS is going to give us our flowers. Like I will forever give you guys your flowers. Just for how much you guys are willing to give and not ask for anything in return. It means a lot to me, and I hope I really, really hope, and again, this is it's me just being me, but I really hope that people see me the way I see you guys. Like I really hope that people see me giving to this sport as much as I see you guys giving. Because it's very rare.
Yeah.
And it really means a lot. From an old head that's seen this sport do one of these, and then do one of these again. It really does my heart well to see people like yourselves, like you know, young ones willing to really contribute to this, man. And
I'll take the title.
like y'all are, I'm
I'll take
telling you,
the
man.
young. That won't be
Yeah,
forever.
listen, you're as young as you feel. You know what, as long as you can keep moving and keep breathing, man, and you'll feel. Trust me,
That's what
trust.
I'm telling Mikey. I don't feel that old yet, but he thinks we feel old.
No, you know what? I just feel like at some point you look at how you guys move and operate versus people your age, and you're like, all right, well, I feel old. It's not that. It's just you have a routine, you have a purpose, and you guys have, you started early working into your purpose, working into your specialty,
Yeah.
working into like, what you want to do for the rest of your life. Whereas, people your age right now, a lot of them are just still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you guys are fast track right now, and you're choosing to do what you do right now, and it's working for you guys, So if that makes you old, then fine. You guys can be some old fogies, but I'm telling you right now, it's impressive on this end. Watching. So I definitely want to thank you. Let's make sure we give everyone your socials, man. What are the socials? What are the socials?
So I'm on Instagram at gabby.bda. So that's GABBY. If you put IE, it's incorrect. And that's on Instagram. Please don't find me on Threads. And please, God, don't find my Facebook.
Okay, don't find a Facebook. Don't find your threads. But I literally your threads pop up all the time for me.
I do post a lot.
Yes, like I'm like, yo, like you don't have to find her threads. Just just follow her, and it's gonna like your threads pop up. I'm like, oh, I actually never thought about that. That's actually a really good idea. Yeah, I like that. So
They're
yeah,
very minimally filtered compared to my Instagram. I'll say that.
yeah, dude. I'm trying to be better about like what it's weird because like I used to tweet so much, and I'm like I kept getting in trouble, so I was like, all right, I'll just thread, and now I'm like, oh god, maybe I should just not do anything. Like I think that I think I know better, but then I'm like maybe I don't know better. I'm just saying stupid stuff. But yeah, I'll make sure I get I post those socials up there, man, so people can follow. Um, Thank you so very much. Seriously,
Yeah.
really, it really means a lot to me. So what's next on the menu for you? What's up next?
My head is down and looking at PA Nationals. So I am
Ooh.
excited and I'm looking to show out. I am very
Hey.
aware of what like the total range is required to be to win worlds this year for the
Mhm.
69s. So that is 100% on my mind every time that I'm
Listen, she comes in with a purpose, man. I hear
Oh
you on
yeah.
that. I hear you on that, man. I have my numbers up on the wall, like it's on my mirror. So like when I brush my teeth, I'm like, all right, that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're aiming
Yep.
for. But I mean, it is what it is, man. It's just like this is one of the most amazing obsessions that anyone can have. you know, and
I agree.
If you're a power lifter and you're watching this, you listen to this, like, I mean, keep pushing, man. I mean, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be the world stage for you. Anything. I mean, if you're trying to make yourself better, get to a better place, you want to make yourself a better version, you push it. If there's a number out there that you think is so far-fetched that you'll never be able to get to it, you push till you get to it. Because I'm telling you right now, I can tell you from personal experience, I'm literally doing numbers that I wrote down when I was like 15, 16. I thought it was like outlandish to even do these numbers, and I'm doing them now. You know, and again, mind you, that's 30 years ago, literally. Like, I'm telling you right now, this is a lifestyle. And
Definitely.
if you're willing to commit to this lifestyle and commit to just, you know, giving yourself a chance to be a better version, man, you will surprise yourself. But you have to give yourself a chance to surprise yourself. Speaking of which, we have Gabby Martinez here, and she surprised us with the deadlift, which I was hoping was going to end up being it. I was hoping it was going to be like 227 and a half. Maybe.
Oh, next time for sure. If Mikey doesn't load it, I'm gonna throw a fit.
If Mikey doesn't load it, I might go. I got this one. Don't worry about it, buddy. Go have a seat. Like, Ellis, aren't you competing on the other platform? Yeah. Don't worry about that. I got this right here. All right? I'm gonna put. I might have an emergency card in like under my belt. Like, here you go. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I definitely plan on doing it again sometime soon. If you need me, you know where I'm at. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabby Martinez. Thank you very much.